All right, so this is going to be a quick review of the Fastlane pay-per-view 2023, and welcome back to another edition of Rational Wrestling. Mark, make sure you hit that like button for the algorithm. So Fastlane, man, Fastlane was very short, 5 matches, kind of like the NXT takeovers from back in the day. You know, it was like a 5 match or 6 match card. It was kind of like get in, get out, right? And I'm kind of digging that formula, man, where these matches actually mean something, and the pay-per-views and the shows, they're not long-winded and they're not dragged out. Having a 14-match card on a pay-per-view, that's just unnecessary and a lot of time being wasted. And honestly, you're going to lose the interest of the viewer. If you have a pay-per-view like that where it's like 14, like 13, 14 matches, those matches that are taking place on that show, they're not going to mean as much because they will not get the proper time, right? They won't get the proper time. Now with Fastlane, you only had 5 matches to digest. Now, I'm not saying this was a banger of a show. This show overall was decent for me. I'll probably give it an overall 5 out of 10. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It's kind of in between. But it was very easy to get through, right? The matches on the card meant something. And it just goes to show you that not every wrestler is going to make, the premium live events, right? So it's like, it kind of makes these wrestlers work that much harder to gain a spot on the card. And that's how it should always be, right? Now, moving on to the first match. It was for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest. Now, going into this match, well, first and foremost, I wasn't expecting Jey and Cody to actually wrestle for the tag team titles. I was actually expecting an 8-man tag with, all members of the Judgment Day, including JD McDonough, right? Dominic, Finn, Priest versus KO, Sammy, Cody, and Jey, right? That's what I was predicting. But no, they decided to make this a tag team title match, and KO and Sammy, they kind of just got them out the way, right? But going into this match, I was not expecting for Cody and Jey to come out as tag team champions after Judgment Day just literally won the belts at Payback, right? Fantastic match with KO and Sammy. I was expecting Judgment Day to hold on to those tag team titles at least for a few more months, right? But I guess this is where they kind of start the seeds being planted for, the Judgment Day breaking up. Obviously, JD McDonough cost them the match when JD accidentally struck Damian Priest with the briefcase in his injured knee. So that gave Cody and Jey the advantage. And Cody and Jey picked up the win. Now, the crowd was very hot for this match because, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes right now are your 2 biggest baby faces in the company. So, it's very easy to, get them to be on first to kind of get the crowd hot. Judgment Day is a natural heel faction. The crowd wants to boo them. And you have 2 natural baby faces that the crowd is firmly behind. So it really works out in both favors, right? Both sides, right? Thought this match was well done, well structured, nothing to complain about. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool to see, um, the sons of Rikishi and Dusty Rhodes to win tag team championship gold. It's like Rikishi and Dusty Rhodes would be proud, man. It's crazy that a Rhodes and a Hawaii or Uso, are teamed up, right? Like two second or third generation talents teaming up. I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, the aftermath going forward, right? The aftermath is that Cody is going to be on SmackDown. Now, I already knew that Cody was going to be on SmackDown regardless if he had won the tag team titles or not, because winning the tag team titles, he can be on both shows, Raw and SmackDown. So I guess they did this to not only use Cody, not use Cody, but Cody for him to use Jey Uso to get to Roman Reigns, right? And that was his ticket to get on SmackDown, to get closer to Roman. Now, obviously, this is where Jimmy and Jey will be interacting a little bit more now, because Jey can go on SmackDown as well, which will, slowly build up, both the twin brothers' eventual WrestleMania match, right? So this really worked out, and this actually has a purpose. The result is leading toward a bigger purpose, right? A big picture in mind. So nothing to complain about the opening match. Moving on to the 6-man tag, LWO, Rey Santos, mystery partner versus Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. There's a lot of talent in this match, no doubt. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, they're starting to gain some momentum, and I'm enjoying the new change in the Street Profits' attitude, and just shifting their character to be more aggressive. They dropped the whole, Street Profits act in terms of partying and trying to be funny and goofy, playing around, trying to be entertaining and stuff. It's just now they completely, switched the script. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where this is gonna go with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, them coming together. I don't even have a name for the faction. I'm assuming we're gonna call them maybe the Street Business. I mean, that would be a pretty good name for them, right? But I can see this going places. This has potential, right? It's one of those things like you just have to wait and see more, and you want to give it more time to progress, right? This obviously was meant for Bobby to turn heel in the Street Profits, to kind of give the Street Profits more of an edge, which I like. I approve of that. In terms of the LWO is concerned, obviously Rey Mysterio is timeless in the ring, but I just looked at the crowd, man, and the crowd really wasn't into the match. This pay-per-view had definitely, had some dead spots. Some people were not into the match, right? I feel like this match was lacking energy, right? Once again, great talent in the ring. Santos, Escobar, Mysterio, Lashley, the Street Profits. But it wasn't until Caribbean Cool, Mr. I want to spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool, Carlito, made his return. You know what I'm saying? Always glad to see Carlito. He's in phenomenal shape. And it turns out he's going to be a permanent member of the SmackDown roster. So that's dope. Hit a couple moves, hit the backstabber on Montez, and got the 3 count. Yeah, once Carlito came out, the crowd popped. The crowd was already now into the match. Ray had to make a phone call. We knew it was going to be Carlito. Now, it was an okay match. Nothing too exciting. I think the bigger picture here is, where does the Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits go from here and their development as, together as a faction? Also the LWO. They could be teasing some dissension, right? Ray and Santos. That could lead to Santos turning heel eventually and him being the leader of the LWO, right? So we'll see what happens with both factions. Okay match, nothing too exciting. Moving on. Next match, we have the WWE Women's Championship Triple Threat. Io Sky, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka. Now, off the bat, man, just off rip, man. Charlotte, we got to move on from Charlotte. I understand that the company they view her in a very high regard, and I get that. Charlotte has been a 15-time women's champion. But you see, we can't just give her another reign just for the sake of her breaking the record of her fathers, right? It becomes a little bit, it just becomes lazy. It's like you don't want to invest in Io as your women's champion. You'd rather go to the safe bet, right? You rather play it safe with Charlotte. And you see, if Vince was in charge of creative, I can guarantee you this match would have been all Charlotte. She would have easily won back the women's title, right? And I know that Triple H is a fan of Charlotte, but he's also a fan of Asuka and Io. A lot of people forget that Io Sky actually beat Charlotte to become the NXT Women's Champion back in 2020. A lot of people forget about that. But if you really want to establish Io as a top player in the women's division and be on the level of an Asuka and a Charlotte, then she had to get the victory, right? Now I understand she technically, and she can't win matches on her own clean, right? She has to win dirty. She has to use Bayley. Damage control has to interfere in her matches. So it was a little disappointing, that she needed to help Bayley to win. Now, when Bayley came interfering, I thought, oh, this is the part where Bayley will cost Io the championship, right? No, that didn't happen. Overall, the match was a little dead. Not very impressive to me. The crowd wasn't feeling this match. They weren't feeling Charlotte. They weren't feeling Asuka or Io. I heard some Io chants here and there, but overall, they could care less. These women do not have good chemistry. I feel like Charlotte at this point, her performance has dwindled, in my opinion. she's definitely not the same performer she was. Her last great match was with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Ever since she came back in June, she has been phoning it in. So she brought down the quality of this match, in my opinion, because I just see that Charlotte doesn't really care. You know, that's what I'm seeing. She doesn't care. She doesn't have to fight for that spot anymore. She don't have to really work that hard anymore because she already has her spot, right? She's not the same Charlotte as she was in, 2016, from 2016 to 2018, 19, where she was more motivated, right? She had more motivation. But in the past couple of years, man, she has just, especially this year, man, she has been phoning it in, going through the motions. We could have just done a one-on-one match with Io and Asuka because those two have great chemistry. And I want to see more of Asuka and Io run it back. Right? Run it back. There are some okay spots to the match. The Tower of Doom spot looked pretty wicked. Charlotte has the worst moonsault ever. Yes, I have to say it, man. I got to be honest. Charlotte, her moonsault is trash. She just over-rotates, man. In my opinion, she does not have the body structure to perform and execute a perfect moonsault. See, Tiffany Stratton and Io, they throw solid moonsaults. I would argue that Tiffany Stratton's moonsault is better than Io's, right? It's only because both women have the body structure to execute the moonsault. They're not over-rotating. And the thing is, Charlotte didn't have the best opponents from a height standpoint, a stature standpoint in Io and Asuka. They're more smaller compared to Charlotte. That was not a smart move to perform on two women that are half your size. It would make sense if she performed that moonsault onto a Nia Jax or a Rhea Ripley or a Raquel or a Bianca because she is their same size. She is the same size as those women. Asuka and Io are short compared to Charlotte. It made no sense for her to even throw that moonsault at all. So while Charlotte made Asuka tap out with the figure eight, referee had his back turned. Bayley distracted the ref. Io, while Charlotte is in the bridge form, hits that wicked moonsault, looked very nasty, and got the 3 count. And I popped, man. I was actually really excited for Io to win. Maybe finally we can move on from Charlotte. She lost the match. She got pinned. Although it did look like she was she technically did win the match because she made Asuka tap out. But the referee wasn't looking, right? And it just kind of annoys me that she made Asuka tap out. Like, why is Asuka tapping out? I don't understand. But it was an okay match. Nothing too exciting with this one. I'm glad Io retained. And maybe she can win her next match clean without Bayley's help. We'll find out. Next match we got is Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa versus L.A. Knight and John Cena. Mr. You Can't See Me. There was times during this match where I wasn't paying attention. I was kind of dozing off a little bit. A little dry for me. But I think it really picked up in the later moments, the later parts of the match. Of course, the crowd is hot for LA Knight and Cena. one thing that I really liked about this match was they were taking their time, right? And they were really building up that hot tag with LA Knight. It was kind of the same thing with Cody and Jay, like where they were building up that hot tag with Cody, right? Kind of building up anticipation, right? Um, another thing is Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso, in my opinion, even though the storyline with him and the bloodline doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I have to say, Jimmy Uso is starting to, he's starting to become, how do I put this? He's starting to settle well in his position, right? In his heel character. He's coming across very cocky, arrogant, a little bit nonchalant and delusional, which I think is actually funny for him to act like that because he thinks he's part of the bloodline, and him turning on his brother. I guess it did make sense in terms of he didn't want Jay to be like Roman, but I think Jimmy kind of came to a point where it's all about him. He's focused on his own career. He's not going to try to win back his brother or try to explain to his brother why he did what he did. It's like Jimmy has no choice but to be part of the bloodline because, he's not going to do well on his own, and it just gives him it just gives the WWE another chance to establish a new heel character in Jimmy Uso, because they're setting up Jimmy and Jay for WrestleMania, and I think they've both been booked pretty equally well. I think Jimmy's playing his character well, and he's just showing more personality. With him, it's not about being cool in the ring and throwing all these fancy moves. I think with him, it's more about personality and him just getting his heat with the crowd, right? Which is always important for a heel character. So LA Knight and Cena get the win. LA Knight hits a blood force trauma onto Jimmy and gets a 3 count. We're going to get Roman Reigns returning next week on SmackDown. Looking forward to that. As to who will challenge Roman Reigns next, either LA Knight or Cena. My money's leaning towards LA Knight. We already had Cena and Reigns before. We don't gotta see that again. Not a bad tag match. Crowd was hot for LA Knight, of course. And we move on to our main event, our final match. And that is Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Championship last man standing match. So this feud, very story driven. Okay. When Nakamura first attacked Rollins after SummerSlam, I thought, okay, it seems that Rollins will dispatch of Nakamura. It'll be a one-off match, right? Oh, it's just to keep Rollins busy. Well, no, that's not what turned out to be the case. This turned out to be a very personal feud. A feud that saw the best character work in Nakamura in years. Nakamura doing his best work. I love the fact that he is speaking in Japanese like an evil anime character, right? Targeting Rollins' injured back, which is a real injury. Him taking shots at Rollins' family, child, and wife, and Becky. This feud has actually brought the best out of Seth Rollins as a character and Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, Nakamura has gotten the better of Seth Rollins on Raw every week, targeting his back, injuring him, beating him down. You know, when he beat him down on the Go Home show, you know, that was a wicked beatdown. It convinced me that Nakamura was going to win. But man, their last man standing match was like a war. It felt like a war. It felt like a real fight. Like Rollins had to overcome this evil villain, like this wicked, sinister villain in Nakamura. And let me just be honest. I personally wanted Nakamura to win. I felt that this was his time to win the big one. Let Rollins heal up, let him rest for a while, come back better. You could have just had Nakamura hold on to the world title for at least a month. Rollins will win it back. You know, that's not what happened, though. But this was probably the best match of the night for me, the main event. The last man standing match was, you know, A1. And these two work very well together, I will say. But I have to be honest. Nakamura, he will never get another world title shot again. I'm convinced. You lost to Rollins twice, 2 big pay-per-view matches for the title. At this point, Nakamura is in the back of the line from here on out. It makes no sense to do another match with Rollins and Nakamura. We got to move on. Rollins has to move on to a different opponent. Nakamura, I don't know where he goes from here. You know, it's unfortunate, you know, because Nakamura has fought AJ Styles years ago, and you know he never got to win that big one. And even losing to Jinder Mahal, it really hurt Shinsuke a lot. Like the times where it was the right call to put the belt on Nakamura, they just never did it. And this was the right call. This was the perfect opportunity to put the belt on Nakamura. But, you know, they want to get the most out of Seth Rollins in his world title reign because he is pretty much on the run of his career right now, you know, and he's the perfect guy for that World Heavyweight Championship to be the flagship bearer of Monday Night Raw, your top world champion, to be the workhorse, right? Rollins is your guy. So as a character, it makes sense for him to retain and to overcome adversity. And in Nakamura, he faced a lot of adversity. So this feud turned out to be very good. This is probably Seth Rollins' best feud of his world title reign because it brought the best out of Seth Rollins from a character standpoint, and it challenged him, and it brought him a lot of adversity to overcome. And that's always good for a babyface. A babyface, a good babyface, needs adversity. They need a challenge, right? It's just disappointing that Nakamura once again loses a big world title match. And, you know, he looked really good in this feud, but now he has to take a back seat. And honestly, that was his last world title shot. It's over. I'm convinced that Nakamura will never get another world title shot ever again, which sucks. But who does Seth face after, you know, Fastlane? I'm predicting, in my opinion, I'm predicting Bronson Reed. They seem to be building him up. I think it'll be Bronson Reed and Rollins at Crown Jewel for the world title. You know, to throw Rollins, you know, various opponents, you know, And I think eventually all roads will lead to him and Gunther or Drew McIntyre. We'll have to see. But yeah, man, that wraps up Fastlane, the Fastlane review. Once again, this pay-per-view kind of came and went. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Had some decent matches, some dead spots, some times where it felt dry. But it was easy to get through, and I really enjoyed the last man standing match. It made you think that Nakamura was going to win. There was so many times throughout that match where I thought Nakamura was going to win, where I didn't think Rollins was going to, beat the 10 count. So, Fastlane is in the books. Me personally, I thought Payback was slightly better than Fastlane, in my opinion. But let me know down in the comment section, what did you think of Fastlane? And make sure you like the video for the algorithm. This is another edition of Rational Wrestling Talk with the Rational Wrestling Mark, and I'm out. And peace.